I call this meeting of the Conroe Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. Let the record show that a quorum of members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. The time is 6:01. Please, I'd like to turn the time over for our invocation to Mr. Datron Williams, followed by our pledges will be led by Ms. Teresa Wagman.
Please join me in a word of prayer if you so choose. Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to gather and conduct the business of our school district. Thank you for allowing us as board members to serve. We thank you for your continuous protection and grace over our families and this great school district. Now as we prepare to serve, let us decrease so that you may increase within us. Grant us wisdom in our decisions, and let all that we do be pleasing to you. Lastly, we ask that you strengthen us as we strive to be more like you in our character, in our conversation, and in our conduct. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the Texas flag.
On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Mr. Williams and Ms. Wagman. Appreciate everybody joining us. Moving on to item 2A, Special District Recognition. Read for a Better Life. Dr. Knoll.
Well, once again, we are excited tonight as this serves as a kickoff for our Read for a Better Life celebration that will begin tomorrow across all of our campuses as we invite community members and parents to come in and read to our kids as we celebrate reading. So we will kick that off this evening, and I'm going to ask Dr. Medford if she will come up and make some introductions this evening.
President Hubert, members of the board, and Dr. Knoll, Conroe ISD promotes a culture of reading by calling to action all adults within the Conroe ISD community to devote at least 30 minutes a day to reading aloud to children of all ages. Success in reading is a gateway to success in all other areas. Research has shown that reading to a child will have a tremendous impact on a student's success in school. Our goal is to educate all members of our community on the importance of reading aloud to all school-aged children. Reading aloud is a regular practice in our schools, and the district is encouraging this activity on a larger scale. Read for a Better Life is a simple task that requires few resources but results in many benefits for our students. The district is committed to this project and looks forward to the continued involvement of all members of our Conroe ISD community to read aloud to all students. We thank you for your yearly support of our Read for a Better Life initiative. Before we enjoy an amazing book called Wannabe, written by an Oak Ridge High School graduate, Christina Lentz, I'd like to introduce Dr. Kendra Wiggins, director of our amazing special education department, who is going to highlight Conroe's awesome regional day school for the deaf and introduce our special teachers and student guests.
Good evening. I'm a little shorter than her. President Hubert, members of the board, and Dr. Knoll, I wanted to take the opportunity tonight to tell you a little bit about our regional day school program for the deaf. We have 155 students from 8 districts that participate in this program. We have 11 teachers, we have 1 audiologist, we have 3 sign interpreters, we have 4 paraprofessionals, secretary, and a specialist who all support these amazing kids. Our program is based at Hauser Elementary, Bogle Intermediate, Irons Junior High, and Oak Ridge High School. Tonight we have students from our program at Oak Ridge High School using sign language to interpret. Michelle Martinez Parasa and Christian Perry are going to come up and do that. And their teacher, Angela Pavlock, is here to support them. So at least say hello to Angela.
Hi, my name is Christina. I'm a 2022 graduate of Oak Ridge High School. I'm attending Oklahoma Christian University in the fall. Before I begin reading my book, Wannabe, I want to thank my English teacher, Mrs. Neiman, who encouraged me to write this book. Hope you all enjoy it. There once lived a painter named Levi, who filled his canvases with spectacular images, greenery, and creatures. Unlike the other painters, he watched his paintings come to life. Each and every brushstroke had a unique purpose. He painted and painted and painted until he decided his painting was finally complete. However, inside the painting lived a warm character who felt out of place. Rain wanted to have the gills of a fish with the tail of a fox. She dreamed of being anything but herself. Tired of feeling left out, Rain asked Levi if he could paint her bright yellow like the sun. She thought maybe then she would fit in. I want to be yellow like the sun. Reluctantly, Levi agreed. To Rain's surprise, becoming yellow like the sun did not make her feel included. Rain still felt left out. Suddenly, she had a bright idea. Rain thought that maybe if Levi gave her branches like a tree, the birds would keep her company. I want to be like those trees. Reluctantly, Levi agreed. Once again, she felt left out. Rain had one more idea. She thought maybe having feathers like the birds would make her feel included among the creatures. I want to be like those birds and have feathers. Reluctantly, Levi agreed. Rain did not feel accepted, but instead realized how ridiculous she looked. Feeling hopeless, Rain asked Levi to paint her back to her original self. This time, Levi gladly agreed. After failing so many times, Rain felt confused about what she could do to feel included. Suddenly, a dark, stormy cloud appeared in the sky above. Rain felt herself rise into the sky toward the cloud. Higher and higher, she rose into the cloud. As she started to fall back down, Rain found herself among others just like her. Rain fell to the ground, and as the strong wind swept away the storm, she noticed something incredible. Birds began to sing, flowers bloomed, fish swam in the waters, and creatures emerged from the forest, all because of rain. Rain realized that accepting herself is when she made the biggest impact on others. And somewhere on the other side of the painting, Levi smiled. The end.
Great job. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Pavlak, for being here and bringing your students. Also, just want to say thank you and recognize our principal from Oak Ridge High School for being here, Mr. Sean Allman. And additionally, from Oak Ridge 9, Ms. Shalonda Burks is here to celebrate the students. Thank you. And that was a story that we shared with all 8,700 Conroe ISD staff members, and our two students did a great job in front of those large audiences as well. And so we're really proud to share a book that was written by one of our students and then signed by our students as well. So that was great. And we encourage you and invite you all to join us on campus tomorrow in reading. And if you have not yet had a chance to sign up to read, but you'd like to be involved in reading on the campus tomorrow, I would invite you to speak to our assistant superintendents this evening before you leave. I bet that they could help you find a place tomorrow. So maybe Dr. Winkler and Dr. Medford, you can wave your hand so people know who you are. They would be happy to assist you if you would like to find a place to read tomorrow as we all celebrate reading. I know that our board members will be on campuses. Myself, all of our administrators speaking to our officers today know that their schedules are full tomorrow as well. So we invite you to join us. So thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you. It is a lot of fun going in those classrooms and seeing those kids and just watching their excitement and their creativity come out as you read those books. And a lot of times they know the next page before you get there, that's okay. Let them do their thing. But someone once told my wife and I, asked the question, what's the difference between somebody who can't read and doesn't read? And the answer is nothing. We need to make sure that these kids are reading and being read too. So we would encourage everybody to get out there. So this is a great initiative, and we look forward to it every year. Moving on to item 2B, which is Special District Recognition, Patrons Influencing Education Awards, the Woodlands Church.
Yes,
I'll turn it over to you, Dr.
so
Knoll.
we are excited tonight to bring recognition to a very worthy crew of hardworking folks that have made a huge impact on the school district, and to make this introduction to Ms. Blakelock.
Thank you. President Hubert, members of the board, and Dr. Knoll, it is my pleasure to be with you tonight to present an amazing community partner. Conroe ISD is so blessed to have such outstanding organizations, and the group I'm presenting to you tonight is, cream of the crop as far as it's concerned. Not only have they helped throughout the years with food drives and school needs, they help annually with a little known event called Celebrate Our Schools, which happens to be quite a production. Every year they donate their facility and the staff so that we can come together as a school district and celebrate education and learning and one another. And they provide the staff to put on a show that is as good as anything you'd find on Broadway or Vegas, I promise. And they do it so graciously and kindly. And so tonight we have some representatives that we would like to present to you for a Patrons Influencing Education Award. And so when I call your name, if you'd like to come up, and then we have a couple of things for you. So first we have Pastor Randy Reeves. We have Pastor John Thomas. Pastor Dave Marks. Matt Kramer, production manager. Jeb Condi, assistant facilities director. And Cindy Gross, facilities events manager.
On behalf of the board, I have a plaque here to give to Pastor Reeves and the rest of the team. It says, Patrons Influencing Education Award, presented to the Woodlands Church by the Conroe ISD Board of Trustees in appreciation for your commitment and dedication to the students of Conroe Independent School District, September 20th, 2022. I just want to say, if you've never had an opportunity to go to Woodlands Church, give it a try. It's a great place to be. It's a great place to worship. But one of the things that we love about, at Conroe ISD about this is that when we do the convocations every year, every teacher, every staff member comes, and the Woodlands Church is so inviting. It's a beautiful campus. Again, if you've never been there, it's a great place to go. But Pastor Reeves and the rest of the entire team at Woodlands Church are out there inviting us in. It's a warm welcome. It's exciting. And it's just a wonderful place to be. And so we just want to say to each and every one of you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you. And without more than a plaque, Partners in Education, the acronym is PIE. So we have for each one of you tonight.
And while they're celebrating with their pies, I'd like to add, they have graciously hosted us for over a decade. We were counting up, and we think it's probably close to 15 years that you've performed this service for us. So thank you very much.
Need some help?
I'll hold one of those pies if you need me to.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3
Come through, we'd love to shake your hands here.
Thank all of you for allowing us to partnership.
Thank you guys. You guys do the hard work.
Thank you very much.
Cleared out a few rows up here.
It's the nicest thing you can do for somebody.
All right. Not done with our special recognitions just yet. We're moving on to item 2C, which is America's Best In-State Employer 2022 for the Human Resources Department. Dr. Knoll.
Yes, sir. Dr. Hines.
All right, I want to continue on that pattern of celebrations. President Hubert, members of the board, Dr. Knoll, tonight we are respectfully requesting that the Conroe Independent School District Board of Trustees give special recognition to our hard-working Human Resources Department for their efforts in helping make Conroe Independent School District one of America's best in-state employers as determined by Forbes. Now, Conroe ISD was recently named one of America's best in-state employers for 2022 by Forbes. This recognition was created through a survey of 70,000 U.S. employees across 25 industry sectors. The title America's Best In-State Employers 2022 reinforces Conroe ISD's reputation as an organization that provides excellent employment opportunities at the local and the national level. CISD was one of 3 public school districts in Texas's top 50 employers. Human Resources Director Paula Green will come up to accept this award on behalf of the endless and tireless efforts of this wonderful department to keep our schools and departments staffed. So, Paula Green. And Mr. Moore's probably going to say a few words, and then maybe afterwards we can bring some other HR folks up.
So our board historically has worked very hard to do everything we can to support our employees. There's only so much that we can do. We can set salary ranges that we feel are competitive. We can try to go out and find benefits packages, but it's up to the HR department to go out there and recruit the amazing people that we have that work for this district, to go out there and to administer these things that we do and make sure that people receive the pay that we say they should receive and that their benefits are administered the way that they need to be, and to let us know when there are problems and things that we need to fix. They do an amazing job of going out and recruiting the best people. This district is wonderful. This district received the award because of the people that are in the classrooms, that are on the school buses, that are in the police uniforms, that are in the cafeteria lines, that are at the crosswalks. That's what makes Conroe ISD great, and it's our honor to recognize the HR department for everything that they do to bring those wonderful people to us. So on behalf of the board, everybody that works in HR, everybody that works for Conroe ISD, thank you for making this one of the best places in America to work. We really appreciate it. And whoever else from HR wants to come on up here.
Always takes a team.
Yeah.
Good evening. Here with us tonight, we have some amazing staff members. Chris Corson, she's our retention and recruitment specialist. Laureen Wisner, she's our substitute manager. Claire Amos is our HR coordinator. We have Christy Stavino, our auxiliary recruiter. Hillary McVeigh, she's over auxiliary and para new hires. Jamie Bone, she is our assistant director. JJ Daw, HR coordinator. Terrell Jackson, TIA coordinator, and Tiffany Matfeld, our assistant director. This is our wonderful HR staff, and we're so proud. Thank you so much.
Yes,
You want to come through?
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything you do. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you a whole lot. Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
We appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Thank you for all that you do.
Congratulations.
We appreciate
Thank
you.
you very, very much.
We really do. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. Every time you said it, you think, that's the most important person. You're the greatest. You're the best. Thank you.
I'm gonna let you
We'll,
take
we'll
that.
have to deliver those, maybe. I don't know. We'll work on it.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. We got some swag.
I just want to make sure everybody heard that Dr. Knoll said he was going to be delivering pies.
Y'all let us know if y'all don't get those pies.
Take care.
Probably on payday, but
Take care.
that's awesome. Well, thank you so much. I also want to point out, we have some people up against the wall. If you want, there's some room up here now if you'd like to, if you want to find a seat, or if you want a quick exit, that's fine too, but let us know there's some spaces up here as well.
We rarely yell at.
Yeah. All right, item 3, citizen participation. Ms. Godfrey, do we have anybody signed up tonight?
We do.
All right. Please keep in mind that while this meeting is held in a public forum, the purpose of this meeting is for the Board of Trustees to conduct the business of the district. In accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, the Board Policy BED, if a patron during public comment addresses an issue that is on tonight's posted agenda, the Board will defer its discussion on this issue until the item is reached on the agenda. For any issue that is not on the Board's posted agenda, the Board cannot and will not deliberate or make a decision related to that issue. Speakers who have signed up to address the Board during public comment must make all comments to the Board of Trustees and not to the audience. The Board has specific policies under which the Board considers complaints. If your purpose is to seek some type of remedy, the Board cannot discuss or respond to your concern until you have met the requirements of the appropriate district policy. Accordingly, the Board will not hear complaints or derogatory comments about individual students or staff during public comment. Information about how to file a complaint is located on the district's website. The Board expects that everyone in attendance will conduct themselves respectfully, regardless of whether they agree or disagree with the speaker's message. Interrupting speakers or this meeting will not be tolerated. To ensure that the Board can efficiently conduct the district's business, each of the speakers who have registered to address the Board will be given 3 minutes to present their comments. Each speaker's time will be displayed on the screen around the room. When the countdown timer reaches 0, the next speaker will be called. Ms. Godfrey, will you please call our first person?
Lynn Wynn.
Good evening, Conroe ISD School Board members. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak. So sorry.
There you go.
I am here to respectfully ask for more sleeping time. I'm standing in front of you running on 4 hours of sleep despite being told in school to sleep at least 8 to 10 hours. We're constantly told to come to school ready to work and ready to learn. But how can I do this when I'm constantly finding a losing battle to stay awake in class at 7 in the morning? To my fellow school board members, please help me get more sleep. For students' health, students need to adjust their starting times. We as students are constantly focusing on improving our grades, maintaining our GPAs, turning homework in on time, studying for tests and quizzes, preparing for AP exams, and ultimately to graduate. The list is never ending. During school, teenagers need all the sleep they can get for their minds to develop fully. It is common knowledge that lack of sleep is linked to poor mental health, yet school starts before the crack of dawn. If our sleep is shortened, our immune systems are weakened and we are more prone to problems associated with anxiety and or depression. To prevent this, teenagers need to sleep at least 8 to 10 hours. Currently, most students sleep an average of only 4 to 6 hours. Lack of sleep initiates a domino effect of mental and physical fatigue, inability to cope, low self-esteem, creating self-deprecating thoughts, and debilitating anxiety. The rate at which these dominoes fall increases with continued sleep deprivation. Now the question is, why do schools need to start so early? Strangely enough, it's because of buses. Buses follow a tight schedule every morning to pick up high schoolers, middle schoolers, and elementary schoolers. We prioritize our bus schedules over students' health. It should be the opposite. Delaying school by something as simple as 20 minutes can make a huge difference. Instead of leaving at my house at like 6:30 a.m. when it's dark, I can leave my house at 7 a.m. where I can at least get some sunshine in my day and of course get more sleep. Another potential solution is to switch the order in which grade levels get picked up. First, junior high/middle schoolers, high schoolers, and then elementary schoolers. This will allow elementary schoolers to not be home unsupervised, and we high schoolers can get a little more sleep. Junior high students are self-sufficient such that it is not too onerous of an ask, and it will allow more time for them after school to practice or explore activities they want to pursue in high school. Delaying school start time or switching the order of bus pickup will allow for more sleep, stable mental health, higher function, and better class engagement. As a senior in high school, this is my final year and I won't be able to see any changes. But I hope the school district seriously considers the school hours and its toll on student mental health. Now, thank you. It's past my bedtime and I still have to study 3 hours. Thank you.
Thank you.
Evelyn Surgers.
Good evening. Hello, members of the school board. Is this on?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
really don't need it. Hello, members of the school board, parents, educators, and constituents in attendance today. My name is Evelyn Surgers. I'm an Army veteran and an educator. I have worked in Conroe ISD for the past 9 years of my 15 years as an educator, until my daughter's cancer diagnosis altered the plans that I had to continue serving this community. We have a large family. 7 children attend school here in Conroe ISD. And actually it breaks my spirit that I have to share the personal details of my family's experience just to highlight the lack of humanity that's been provided to my family by Conroe ISD. When one of your children is sick, it hits differently. And since most of us here are parents, we should be able to empathize with that fact. Even greater than that, I work for a school district that promotes a family and community first attitude, which with its all means all motto, which should include me and my family as well. So you can imagine the horror I and my family experienced when Conroe ISD denied our right to financial assistance despite the medical documentation provided by doctors highlighting my child's health struggles. They even went as far as making applying for homebound services difficult by neglecting to complete the required paperwork, resulting in her temporarily being withdrawn from school. Your decision impacts not only me, but my entire family. All of our children were denied financial assistance by the school district, which has the audacity to label them as at-risk, special ed, minority, underrepresented, and even disabled. Yet you denied them the opportunity to thrive during their most vulnerable times. My family isn't looking for a handout. My family isn't looking for a free meal. My family is seeking retribution for the emotional and mental distress imposed by Conroe ISD when they allowed the gatekeepers to make harmful and unqualified decisions, such as object to my unemployment claim, which I am qualified for because my child is sick and dealing with cancer. The Texas Workforce Commission states that an employer must follow laws regarding or accepting or objecting to a claim. In my particular situation, there was no need to object to my unemployment benefit claim because the unemployment claim was in fact due to the illness of my minor child. Again, a child fighting cancer. And Conroe ISD denied. I was not fired. I voluntarily resigned due to the illness of my minor child. I received consistent and exceptional teacher evaluations, both formative and summative. I am an educator who is continuously striving to achieve professional greatness. I'm a parent who will advocate for the rights of my children and the benefits of my family. In my last 30 seconds, I expect a full explanation, not right now, of the denial of my unemployment benefits. I expect a full apology from the continued emotional distress that Conroe ISD has inflicted on my family. I expect accountability in the process of how teachers and subs are denied or improved unemployment compensation benefits. I expect Conroe ISD to do something to prove that all means all. Always, at all times, for all of us, period, the end.
Thank you.
Alex Harris. Alex Harris.
Dear CISD leadership and trustees, my name is Alex, and I want to talk about a topic which is familiar to all of us, which is racism based on one's skin color. Our teachers have this in sociology, talks about social inequality, I'm a little concerned that I think we need to go deeper to get rid of this problem. Because it's not, I know socially when you look around you, we don't see that as a problem, but it's in the mind and in the heart, and that comes through education. And the point I want to make is the world was agnostic to one's skin color. And let me show you how. In Shakespeare's time, he wouldn't have written Othello marrying, a black man marrying a white woman. It was done. Now, of course, the years that gone by, we have seen that happen. Now, another thing that is very, very important to understand is in the 1600s, the Western world was not in great shape. It was all the affluent was on the eastern side, in India and in China. And to anyone to say, hey, because of the color of my skin, I'm better, would have been ridiculous. And I think most people realize that. Voltaire said, hey, anything we know has come from the East. And he goes on, and I'm going to send you this. I don't think I can cover it in great detail. And I want to share with you how this whole poison came about. What happened is when the British went to India to trade, they just went in just to trade, and they looked at the local dynamics, and through a series of events, there was a certain segment of people who invented the caste system. The caste system, Indian caste system, is based on color. And through a series of manipulations, they worked with this group to develop a way and a strategy. And what happened is the document of the caste system is called Manudharma. And they worked it out with this particular group, which is the Rajputs, to have that sovereignty over that area and use this mechanism to control them. And that's how, when William Jones, when he translated that document, I know I'm running out of time, when he translated that document into English, that's when this whole thing spread worldwide. Again, I don't have time to cover all of this, but I will say one thing. Our foundation of our nation is that all men are created equal before God. And we've got to eliminate this. And the only way to get rid of this is from the heart. And to do that, we need to educate, look at the history. Thank you.
Destiny Parker.
I'm a little nervous, sorry.
That's all right.
My name is Destiny Parker. I'm a 911 dispatch supervisor, a resident of Conroe, and a sister to a Conroe ISD teacher. I started a project where I obtained decommissioned fire hose, cut it into 4-inch sections, and donate them to teachers. It slides over the hydraulic hardware of the classroom door for active shooter situations, lockdowns, keeps the door from opening. Department head approved of this, and a month later, a principal said she talked to the district and they said it was a no-go for the following reasons. The door can't be opened if it's locked, so this device is unnecessary. Good guys have keys and can't get in if this is in the way. Students could get a hold of it and lock teachers out. Per the multi-hazard emergency operations plan, in the response and recovery section under active shooter lockdown next to hide, it states, deny the attacker access to your location, lock doors if you can, and reinforce doors and barricades. Blockades and or jamming doors to tie off or tying off door handles. This to me cancels out reasons 1 and 2 that the district gave, which brought me here. This is something that I'm passionate about, and I would like to get approval from Conroe ISD as an additional safety measure for students and staff. Security devices similar to the fire hose solution range from $60 to $85 a piece. This is all donated and can save the district thousands of dollars. Thank you.
Thank you.
Misty Odenweller. Misty Odenweller.
I was busy clapping, I didn't hear you. Thank you, Dr. Knoll and board members, for the opportunity to address you this evening. I'd like to begin by sharing my utmost appreciation and gratitude to you, Mr. Moore, to our community, to this board, and to this school district. You are going to have big shoes to fill, and you've been an advocate for the dyslexia community over the years, and they're going to miss you. I've already heard from them, many of them. So that being said, your shoes being filled should be done by a special election. I know you don't necessarily have a say in or recusing yourself probably from stating that, but I should think that this board and Dr. Knoll understand and recognize the fact that our board is comprised of people selected by our community, and that Mr. Moore has 2 years left, and his position will become vacated after the general election. That being stated, our board should consider the fact that our public, our community, should have a say in what and who is replacing him. This should be done by a special election. You all should recognize that the people that want to see this position filled want to be heard. That being said, it should happen after, just like his position is being vacated after the election. You should look at what the people are stating come the new votes and new board members. That also being said, I hope you will consider and take into consideration the fact that people are asking for a special election to replace Mr. Moore. Thank you again, Scott, for your many years of service. You will be missed.
Tina Orbaugh.
Hi, I'm Tina Orbaugh. I've taught in the Conroe district for over 15 years. I've been teaching for over 33 years now. I have a daughter that is a teacher. We don't believe that you should elect or make somebody be a school board member without all of the voters, the parents, everybody that is wanting to help elect. It should be elected. You can't tell me who's going to be taking someone's place. Those are all of us in our community is responsible for. We need to elect them. Also, I wanted to let you know that as far as education, I'm really worried. Things are coming down the line that are kind of worrisome. It's even getting into the math department as far as what they need to test, when they need to test it, make sure they are testing it at this time. Kids are not ready. The best people to know when to test, the best people to know when to educate, what to educate is the teacher. The teacher needs more power. They spend over $100,000 going to school, and yet you don't give them any power. You tell them what they have to teach, where they have to teach it, when they have to test, and we're finding this more and more. So all I want to say is make sure that all of us have a voice in who is going to be elected, and that you have more trust in teachers and let teachers make decisions about what is being taught, when it's being taught, when it is being tested. I know for myself, we didn't even have a book when I taught algebra. We got together as a team. We decided this is the logical way of teaching. We all been taught we taught many years. We said, hey, you first start with this, you start with fractions, decimals, and then you went on and on and on. Now we teach to a test. That's all we do. Here's a sheet of paper for the last 2 months before a test. You get a sheet of paper. You answer these questions, this is going to be on the test. Here's another one, this is going to be on the test. Word problems, some of them are just so bizarre. Some of the kids will take a look at their word problems and they'll just put their head down. Math should be math. Let's make sure they know what is supposed to be taught. Their multiplication facts, their fractions, solving simple equations. And an equation, solve it one step, 2 step, 3 step. It's just logic. But we are not going back to logic. We are going back to, here's a little bit of this, here's a little bit of that, here's a little bit of this, and the kids are getting so confused. I've taught in the Klein District, I've taught in New Caney, I've taught here. I live in Montgomery. So I'm just here to help. Thank you.
James McCon.
First of all, I want to thank you for giving us, all of us, an opportunity to speak, and that's obviously the primary criteria we have to use to move forward. My name is Jim McCann. I live in River Plantation, and I'm a retired insurance executive. I had no plans of being here until this morning, and when I came across this article with the on September the 19th with the Golden Hammer regarding the resignation of Mr. Moore, and I'm fairly new at this. I've never been up here before. And so I recognize that, the purpose of the CISD administration reports to the board, and it's also the job of the board to hold accountable the administration. And so I just have really just one question I'd like each of you to address when you get to the portion discussing a replacement and steps going forward. And my question to the board basically is this: have there been any conversations, and let me just say this, the article implies that there's been a fair amount of talk about this position leading up to this, amongst yourselves possibly with the members of the administration. Frankly, that would be inappropriate, because at the end of the day, you work, we put you in those seats, and there's checks and balances that go on in any organization, and that's really what I wanted to just raise here. Have we breached those separation of power, so to speak? And that those checks and balances, because frankly, if there's been some crosstalk with administration members, with the board, or even with each other at this point, as I understand the law, and I'm not an expert at it, then the process becomes tainted, and in the eyes of the public, then probably the best avenue going forward is going to be have a special election and let the voters make the decision. And frankly, that's I think what everybody kind of leans towards anyway. Especially, and like I said, I'm looking at the article regarding the very large bond issue. A lot of money's involved here, and the implication was that we're going to go through some machinations to try to do what go along with what CISD plans and the board's plans are. So my point is this: address this individually and just confirm and make us all feel better that there's been no talk and discussion along these matters, because this position, those seats really belong to the voters. So that's all I've got to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Linda Sasser.
Good evening, President Huber, Dr. Null, members of the board. It is my privilege to be here. My name is Linda Sasser. I am a former CISD teacher, junior high and high school, and I am a former board president of this sitting board. I would like to speak to the agenda item regarding the resignation of current board member, Mr. Scott Moore. First, I want to thank Mr. Moore and Scott and our good friends for his service and dedication to our school district. I know that you've gone above and beyond on numerous occasions. And I'm here tonight to encourage the board to fill Mr. Moore's unexpired term as soon as possible. The school district faces critical decisions on a regular basis, and they need a full board of the 7 individuals in order to make those decisions. And just a few: rezoning, bonds, setting policy, and the list could go on, especially these days. As a board, you want to appoint the most qualified person, a person who is up to date on the current policies and procedures, a current person who is knowledgeable about the workings of the district, a person of integrity, a person who has made critical decisions, and above all, a person who cares about our children, our teachers, and our staffs at all our schools throughout the district. In addition, the person you appoint should be trusted by the voters in the district. The board has a person who fills those requirements. His name is Skeeter Hubert. Mr. Hubert had the support of both of the voters in his two previous elections. In an election with two opponents, he garnered 45% of the vote. In an election with one opponent, he garnered 65.6% of the vote. He is known, he is supported by the voters in this school district. And I will add one thing here because it has been mentioned, and that is special elections are extremely expensive. So please keep that in mind. This will not be the first time that appointments have been made to fill an unexpired term. It happened twice while I was on the board. I strongly recommend the board appoint Skeeter Hubert to fill the unexpired term of Mr. Scott Moore. And if you'll allow me a personal privilege, thank you all so much for what you do. It thrills me when I come to the board meetings and there's Read for a Better Life still, and so many other traditions that we started. And so from my heart to yours, thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all.
That's it. All right, very good. All right, thank you to those who participated. Moving on to item 4, our consent agenda. I would request that we pull item H from the agenda, if that is okay. Can we get a motion and a
So
second
moved.
for that?
So move the approval of the consent agenda, excluding item H as presented.
Okay.
Second the motion. Go ahead.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor show by the lifted hand. Any opposed by the same sign? Very good. Moving to item H, which is consider adoption of resolution appointing investment program and list of qualified investment bankers. If possible, when we have that, can we break that out as well between the investment program and then another one for the list of qualified investment brokers? There's a, if you don't mind.
I think we could accept a motion if someone wanted to make a motion just to.
Mr. President, I would
first read.
move that we adopt the resolution approving the investment program.
Okay.
Second.
Can we have a motion and a second? Any discussion about that? All right, all those in favor show by the uplifted hand.
Aye.
Any opposed by the same sign? Very good.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we adopt the resolution of the list of qualified investment brokers as well.
Okay, we have a motion
I'll second.
and we have a second. Any discussion about those?
Mr. President, I am abstaining from this discussion and motion due to a conflict of interest.
Very good. Thank you. Have that noted. And the other note would be myself as well. I will be abstaining from this vote as well due to I have a correlation with one of the qualified investment brokers as well. It's not my employer, but it's an affiliation, so I would like to abstain from that vote as well. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, I call the vote. All those in favor show by the uplifted hand. Any opposed by the same sign? Any abstentions? Very good. Motion passes. All right, item 5A, consider approval of the resolution authorizing the district to submit a grant application for the Rifle Assistance Shield Grant Program to the Office of the Governor.
All right, we'll invite our Chief of Police, Matt Blakelock.
Good evening, President Hubert, members of the board, Dr. Knoll. The Office of the Governor Criminal Justice Division has made a grant opportunity available for law enforcement agencies to purchase rifle-resistant ballistic shields to be issued to officers working within the school environment. Priority of funding in this grant is being given to those law enforcement agencies employed by a school district. For public safety reasons, I will only publicly share limited information regarding the equipment used and how it is deployed by the police department, but I can share that we have a plan in place for the issue of additional shields that will supplement existing resources, provide optimal coverage, and the fastest deployment within the geographical boundaries of the district. The Conroe ISD Police Department is fortunate to have such tremendous support from the board with funding the needs of the department on an ongoing basis. And at this time, I ask for your approval of the resolution authorizing the district to submit a grant application for participation in the Rifle-Resistant Shield Program.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any conversation or questions from Mr. Blakelock? Yes, sir.
How many of these shields would we be anticipating?
We typically don't share amounts, and I think there's some of that information in your board item that.
Right, okay. And then the cost per unit? And I want to stress, I'm for this 100%.
Yes, sir. So that's variable. We received a quote, which would be around $5,600 a unit. But if approved, what we would do is submit that as a basis for a price analysis so that we could do an RFP, a request for proposal, to get the best pricing available.
Again, I want to stress, I'm 100% for this. Have you had an opportunity to try one of these or use one? Or when you, and you might not be able to say, but the bullet resistant, up to what caliber? Would you rather not say that?
Probably not share that
That's a good
information
idea.
publicly,
Yeah,
but
We don't want you to try them on either and test it.
Well, if you need any help testing,
I've been using the shields for 26 years, and it's a valuable tool.
well, thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments? All right, I'll call the vote. All those in favor show by the uplifted hand. Any opposed by the same sign? All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blakelock. Item B, receive attendance zone update for intermediate schools in the Caney Creek High School feeder zone.
All right, we have the 2 attendance zone items tonight as we work through this. We'll start with Dr. Hines and the Caney Creek feeder.
Good evening, President Hubert, members of the board, Dr. Knoll. As just shared, we're going to have 2 items in a row. The first one, both of these are about attendance zone boundary processes that are underway. And I want to begin, the first one tonight, we'll talk about Veterans Memorial Intermediate School. Before we get into that, I want to just take a moment to talk about growth in general. This is kind of a little look back over the last few years. In 2018, we had an enrollment of almost 62,000. We had just seen an enrollment growth of about 1,542 students, which is pretty much had been our average up until then, about 1,500 per year. And then in 2019, we jumped up about 1,800. And so on August 30th of that year, we were at 63,604 students. In 2020, that was our year of the pandemic, we didn't jump up as much. We went up 380 students. Now, that actually number gradually increased throughout the year, so that was kind of a unique year. And just to remind everyone, we started the year, we actually had about 40% of our students in remote learning. And then in 2021, in August 30th, we were at 66,000. That was a jump of 2,641 students from where we were a year earlier. And then certainly that did get our attention, wondering, what is this looking like? And this year, that number is up nearly 1,000 to growth of 3,644 students. And I think just today we went over 70,700 students who are in the 700 range, which is a growth of roughly 3,644 students, 3,860 from that same time last year. To put that in perspective, when we did a previous demographic study, we thought we would be around 68.5 right now. So we're running about 2,000 plus over where we thought we would be. In terms of our district projections, as we were planning for last year, we planned conservatively because we don't want to miss that number, but we were just under 70,000, so we were about 1,000 off our projection. So what this means is we've seen fairly significant increases in the rate of growth over the last 2 years. We have commissioned a new demographic study. We will be sharing that in the coming weeks. And I think what we're going to learn from that is this rate of growth is not going to go away. It's going to stay with us. And so we believe that this rate of growth will continue, and we will share that when we get our updated graph. This is just a map, and actually we were looking at revising this today of our fast growth areas, and you can see they're pretty much distributed throughout the entire school district. You can see the Grand Oaks in the far southeast and the east part of our district. The red on the east part represents the 242 corridor, and then going up north of 105 and south of 105, we have a lot of growth on the east side of our school district, and then on the west side of Conroe as well, and then of course the Grand Central Park down the bottom portion, and you can see just really growth throughout the district. 1488 corridor growth, and you can see up Old Conroe Road there's growth. So we've been feeling it in all directions. Let me say a little bit about capacity. I know that's something that we always work on. Capacity is kind of a moving target, and we've shared that in the past because it has to do with how much space we have available for instruction. And that can vary from school to school based on the types of services, the number of services. I've shared before, for example, when we might have 10 second grade teachers, we can distribute students equally. But if we have a bilingual program and there's 4 bilingual out of 10, suddenly I've got to distribute the bilingual students among 4 teachers, so I'm more likely to go over 22-to-1 faster. And so we have a dual language program where we only have 1 section, for example. It's a little bit more difficult to measure. There's also been changes in the past. I'll go back about 10 years ago. We used to serve kindergarten in a half-day program. And we went to a full-day program, and suddenly we needed a lot more rooms for kindergarten. 2 years ago, we started all-day pre-K. And overnight, we lost equivalent of about 2 elementary schools of space because we needed 96 additional classrooms for that. The number of staff and staffing ratios also can impact our numbers of spaces. So we certainly strive for better staffing ratios, but when we do add teachers, it means we have to have a place to put them. And so that also can impact the campus's capacity. Continuing that theme, I'll just share we are crowded. 37 of our 65 current campuses are at or over capacity. As a district, we are at 101% of our overall capacity. We currently are utilizing 217 portable classrooms, which equates to a little over 4,000 seats. In addition, we're going to talk tonight about some campuses in the Caney Creek feeder and the Grand Oaks feeder, but I'll mention a few others that are worth noting. Currently, Creighton is sitting at 143% of capacity. Darrington at 105%, Mitchell at 105%, Bush at 108%, Oak Ridge Elementary at 107%, Austin Elementary at 105%, Powell at 112, Runyon at 108, Suchma at 125%, Wilkinson at 104%, Knox at 108%, McCullough at 109%, Conroe 9 at 111%, and Grand Oaks High School at 110%. And all of those are utilizing portable classrooms with the exception of Wilkinson, and next year, I'm afraid, we'll be bringing some over there. So this put a little map together, just kind of give it an illustration. This is our elementary map, and we are essentially, all these represent elementary feeder zones. The ones in red are over our capacity, so it's equally distributed throughout the district. And you can see where we most have room is where we've just recently opened campuses, where we've left ourselves some room for growth. Hope Elementary opened on the east side, and Milam and Hope currently have some room. San Jacinto still has a little bit of room, but they're growing rapidly. And if you look over on the west side where we opened Gordon Reed this year, and so Stewart and Gordon Reed now have some room to grow back into. But you can see we're filling up quickly. In intermediate capacity, again, is being tested. We're about 94% district-wide. Junior high capacity, we will bring on 550 seats at the junior high level with the new Moorhead Junior High next year, so we'll get a little bit of relief, but that'll be temporary with the rate of growth we're seeing. But currently this is where we're over, and you can, and Stockton and Pete are both probably about 2 years from going over capacity. At high school, currently we're at 98% capacity. So it gives you a little bit of a kind of a visual representation. I mentioned a little bit of that new space. Gordon Reed is serving pre-K through 6th grade with 950 seat capacity. We opened that this year, as well as a 10-room addition at Conroe 9th grade campus, and we've already filled those 10 rooms up. Next year, for the 23-24 year, we're going to open Veterans Memorial Intermediate School. That will add 1,050 intermediate seats. That's 5th and 6th grade in the Caney Creek feeder. Hines Elementary with 950 seats in the Grand Oaks feeder will open. And then, as I mentioned, we will have the new Moorhead Junior High, which will add some seats at the junior high level. And then in 24, that's the year after, we have one elementary, Bartlett Elementary, with 950 seats. And that one is slated for providing relief for Austin, Creighton, Anderson, and Patterson. So those are, which should help Wilkinson, because we'll probably do a rotation a little bit to solve. So I'm going to shift gears, and that's kind of a general overview where we are at the beginning of this year. We're crowded. We've been growing faster than we've seen, and it doesn't look like it's going to slow down. And we're trying to make it all work. So we're going to talk a little bit about Moorhead Junior High School. We are at 133% capacity, currently using 11 portable classrooms. And Grangerland Intermediate is at 112% capacity with 10 classrooms. So this is where it gets kind of interesting. The new Moorhead Junior High School, which is on Grangerland Road, has a capacity of 1,600. It's built as a big junior high, and it's going to replace the current junior high of Moorhead. And I want to be clear about that. So we're going to get, in the switch of the junior highs, we will pick up a new building, and that building will be repurposed from Moorhead Junior High School to an intermediate school, and that'll be Veterans Memorial. And it will serve students in grades 5 and 6. It's located right there on 1485. It's the current junior high. And just to give you a little background, because some of you might remember, it used to be an intermediate way back when. It originally opened in 2001 as an intermediate school. In 2008, we relocated to its current location off FM 3083, and 1485 location was converted to Moorhead Junior High School at that time. So, which up until then was part of Caney Creek's campus. So we had Moorhead and Caney Creek on the same campus. We moved them across the street, and now we're going to move to another junior high school. So I know it gets confusing with the shell game, but I wanted to kind of review that. So this is the current Moorhead Junior High, which will be Veterans Memorial Intermediate School. It's a nice little school. This is a few pictures. We'll get some pictures of the new junior high later on this evening. It is going to be unique as far as our intermediates go. It's going to have 2 gyms, and it's going to have some really nice science labs because it's been a junior high, and 2 tennis courts. So it's a neat little place. The new Moorhead Junior High School, and again, Mr. Foster will probably have some more updated pictures than this, but we know that's moving over here off Grangerland Road. So to do this, we have an attendance boundary committee. It's made up of principals and parents representing the schools in the feeder zone. This is our committee for this year. We've already had a couple of meetings to get started and really start working on the process. I'm leaving in December, so our goal is to finish by then. So,
yes, it is our goal. Yeah,
and the committee's committed to it, so we also have a group of administrators from the district level that don't vote, but they actually serve on the committee as resources, and we provide feedback on things like transportation, and we get a lot of help from our communications department. So we have a great committee. We have a really fairly simple objective as a group. We're trying to populate Veterans Memorial. So we're opening a new intermediate school. We know we're going to provide relief to Grangerland. And that's really the game plan and the objective as we work through it. There are several goals. These goals are applicable to both of the processes that are underway. And I won't read them all to you because they haven't really changed much over the years. But as we go through this process, we take this very seriously. We know that people orient their lives based on where they go to school. Right? It impacts a lot of decisions, everything from daycare to what activities we do after school, before school, where we run our errands. And so we do not like to just change boundaries for the sake of changing boundaries. And we recognize that everybody we touch is a family, it's a child. So we really want to be mindful of that, and we work through this. And our committees understand that, and they take this challenge to heart, and they work at it very diligently. So we wanted to reduce crowding. And at the same time, we're not going to open a new campus and not put people in it, right? So we're going to make some adjustments. We're going to take advantage of the facilities that we have. We want to communicate. We look at a lot of things. We look at the capacity, input, demographic factors, feeder patterns, proximity of geography, bodies of water, main roads, all those kind of things we look at to try to look for boundaries that make sense, history, what works for transportation, and so on. We always try, if we have people that are in walking distance, to work around that. Again, we mentioned some of the hot spots, and there are several that are not even shaded that probably should be. 24B is one that we should shade in as a hot spot now. I know they cleared a lot of land over there, and they're getting ready to do some development. And so we refer to those, I just referred to 24B, that's an area, that's a zone, and these are planning units that we use as part of this process where we try to make it work. Again, we know that schools are communities. We know that families have a history with schools. We also know they make choices. Probably the advantage in doing Veterans Memorial is families are familiar with both schools, Grangeland and Morehead, and so they're both schools that families all currently feed into. And so they're not unfamiliar with the location or the building, and they have history with it. And so we're working on it. The good news is, when we did Hope Elementary, that committee actually started on this. So we got a little bit of a head start because we wanted to kind of have an idea of where, when we drew the boundary for Hope, what it might look like when we started laying over an intermediate map. And so we did a little bit of preliminary work, so we're kind of starting in the middle a little bit, and that's why we think we can do this process a little bit faster. We do not take this lightly. We are committed that when we open a new intermediate school, that both of our schools are going to be outstanding. They're both going to have the programs that we need to serve our students. And again, our goal is to really wrap this up by December. This is our current elementary feeder. You can see on the south side it's San Jacinto, then it's Hope. The blue represents Milam, and the green represents Creighton, and the red represents Austin. And what we kind of, the early committees were kind of, we set up leaving the south and the north split because the two intermediates are going to be very close to each other, and Milam would be the school that gets kind of split in half. And if you look at the Milam attendance zone, it really falls on both sides of the two campuses. So it's just trying to make an equitable split to make it work. But that's kind of where this committee has started, and that was what the previous committee recommended. The other thing we want to keep in mind is when we open a school in 24, assuming we make that, when we provide relief to Creighton and Austin, those boundaries will look different. And so because they're going to look different, they'll probably be shared with another split elementary. And because of that, we want to make sure we keep those two paired together. So whatever we do, it'll keep them feeding back to the same intermediate. And again, this is our current intermediate zone. One of the questions we have, what are the grades? And again, I want to stress, we're only impacting 5th and 6th grade. The 7th and 8th grade program is going to move in its entirety, so we're not rezoning for Morehead. The other question we receive very often is, what happens if my students in the 5th grade and I want them to finish 6th grade at their current campus? And we traditionally have allowed transfers to finish out, but you have to provide transportation. And so what's next is we're starting the process of presenting this information publicly. Tomorrow night, we actually have our first virtual one, and then we're going out to Grangeland on Thursday night. We'll present this information, and then our committee will take that feedback. We also have a website. It's a great page. There's a place where you can download the spreadsheet with all the zones and the numbers of students in each zone, and you can build your own scenarios if you want, submit those to the committee. There's a place for comments for the committee, and currently we already have 5 scenarios posted. So there's 5 up there for community feedback. One of them has already been taken out of the mix by the committee. And so again, we have these presentation dates that are coming up, and that's going to wrap it up for what we had to share about Veterans Memorial, unless there's any questions.
Questions, comments? Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Hines, for the work, the committee's work.
Quick question, Dr. Hines, I don't know if you know this or not, but the last demographic study that was conducted, was that back in 2015?
It was actually later than that. It was like 17 or 18.
17 or 18.
17 or 18, okay.
So we have a new one that should be here anytime.
Okay.
We anticipate bringing to you in November, the executive summary in November, with the potential then of going into a December board workshop with getting deeper into that piece. Once again, anytime we do a demographic study, it's made public, it's put on our website, it's available for everybody to see and to use as they would use it. So once we've seen preliminary numbers at this point, but until we want to make sure they're solid and correct before we present them publicly.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right. Moving on to item 5C, which is receive attendance zone update for elementary and intermediate schools in the Grand Oaks High School feeder zone.
All right, Mr. McCord.
President Hubert, members of the board, and Dr. Knoll, it's my pleasure to be here tonight to give you information on the Grand Oaks feeder elementary and intermediate attendance zones. So Dr. Hines was able to speak globally about the district and where we are as far as capacity, and speak more specifically to where we are in the Veterans Memorial population process. So I'm going to speak to you regarding both the elementary and intermediate attendance zones of Grand Oaks. So we are excited, in fact elated, that we're going to be opening up a 950-seat student elementary school in August of 2023. That elementary school will be known as the Christopher J. Hines Elementary School. It'll be located on Lexington Boulevard in the Grand Oaks feeder system. Here's a picture of it. This is taken from the east by a drone. And if you look across, you can see campus. If you were to go to the left, you would see Clark Intermediate. To the south, if you were to turn to the right, you would see Grand Oaks High School and the Grand Parkway to the north. So that picture was taken just a few days ago on September 15th, and that is the current process and progress as from the air. So if you see the drone behind me, where the drone would be if you were with the drone, is what we call section N57. And I want to talk a little bit about that because that is an area of particularly fast growth that is part of Woodson's Reserve. So that is where the immediate growth is going to come in the area, which is really fantastic because that's where you decided to put Christopher J. Hines Elementary School. So we'll go forward and we'll take a look, and this is the front of the elementary school, and the inside of the campus will be very similar to both Gordon, Reed, and Hope. This is the front facade of Christopher J. Hines Elementary. It's a little bit different entryway and front opening. We really think you'll like it. We put a lot into it, and so that is what the elementary school will look like as you come in through the front doors. This is the cafeteria and the library and the stage. I really like this. It's been well received at Gordon, Reed, and Hope. I will tell you as a former principal, it is really advantageous to the children to have the cafeteria and the library located approximately or close to each other. It's really a big deal. It really makes a big difference. If you look at the top and the top middle, that would be the entryway into the front office and the front door, just like it is at Gordon, Reed, and Hope. Really got a great group of people, and really we have a big charge. And the charge is to look at things on two different fronts. In both the elementary front and the intermediate front, we've had one formal meeting. It was great. Just a great group of people, parents and principals. I appreciate them. They brought a lot to the table as far as background on the area, boots on the ground, traffic, sidewalks, campuses, subdivisions. So it's really working the way it's supposed to, and it really was a good time. It was kind of lengthy, but it was a good time, and I appreciate their efforts. Also the efforts of the district people, and we have an aggregate large number of years in this group of doing boundary committees. So we appreciate all the expertise they bring. And particularly Dr. Chris Hines, who is the namesake of the school, who's led 2 decades of boundary committees for Conroe ISD. Here is a taken out picture that zooms in just on the Grand Oaks feeder. And the shaded areas are the high growth areas. If you look at it, you will see Vivace and Allegro at Harmony in the lower southwest corner, which is part of Harmony that's fast growth. But most of the fast growth that you see is located on the east-northeast side of the Grand Oaks feeder. So you'll see the far east side, you'll see a little meandering line, that is the San Jacinto River. On the east side, we're bounded by New Caney ISD, and on that side, there's also the Highland subdivision that is 4,000, that is not part, 4,000 homes, that is not part of Conroe ISD. If you look at the image, you'll see in the middle, that is about where Woodson's Reserve is and where Hines Elementary is. The east side, I will tell you that area is undeveloped, and how quickly that is populated and developed is going to come down to how quickly Townsend extends from the Grand Parkway in the north to connect down to Townsend and around the Deerbrook Mall, Kingwood Drive area in the south. So if you see it, there are a couple of sand pits that are located on the east side within that area. There are some floodplains that will prohibit people from having homes built, but the developers are telling us in that area that you see shaded before you to expect 12,000 homes in the next few years. That is a lot of people. So if you look at it, let's just look at it and look at some numbers and look at where we are in schools. If you look at Grand Oaks High School, I think one thing that stands out to bring home, it's not just the growth that's changed. Growth's always been there in the numbers. It is the speed of growth. how rapidly the growth is coming, which is basically doubled. But what we've gotten used to, that is our greatest challenge. And so thankfully Hines Elementary is coming on board. It's in just the right spot, so we're excited about that. But to illustrate something, Grand Oaks High School, we added 6 portable classrooms active this year. But we also activated 7 classrooms within the building of Grand Oaks and activated. So we brought on 13 additional classrooms in 1 year to outfit Grand Oaks High School. Looking down Clark and Cox, we're going to talk a little bit about Clark and Cox. We'll be dealing and looking at that a lot through our committee. But the challenge is that Clark is, you can see, is at 115% of capacity today. But the issue is, Section N57, the new area of Woodson's Reserve, those homes are going to go to Clark. So if those numbers were inverted or flip-flopped between Cox and Clark, we'd be in pretty good shape. But it does require us to look at it, and then ultimately whatever we bring will come to you. You'll have the ultimate decision of what we do with the Hines Elementary boundary zone and also Clark and Cox. If you look down at the bottom for elementary schools, our primary objective is to relieve overcrowding at both Broadway and Snyder. If you look at Broadway and Snyder, they are at 137% and 135% as we sit here tonight. But also, if we can work it, if we can make it happen, it would be good to bring some relief, possibly, potentially, to both Vernon Woods and Bradley. Ford is very much a part of the Grand Oaks feeder. Grand Oaks, you have Spring Creek Pines, you have Fox Run, and currently, because where it is geographically located compared to Hines, we're probably not going to be able to do anything to help Ford in the short run. But so we have not included them in the committee. We did not want to cause consternation among their kids, staff, parents, or anyone in the community of Ford. The good news about Ford, if you look at the timeline 10 years out, it's pretty stable in growth. So that's a positive. So what are we trying to accomplish? What are we doing with this great group of people? First off, we're trying to populate and going to populate with you having the final decision on a boundary zone for Christopher J. Hines Elementary. But also we're analyzing potential boundary changes to potentially be made for Cox and Clark based on the anticipation of upcoming rapid growth in the intermediate grades of 5th and 6th grade at Clark. And if we can, to potentially provide crowding relief and future capacity to the other Grand Oaks campuses, such as Burnham Woods and Bradley. So we're looking at that. I want you to know that I showed you some numbers, but every year that I come up here and we speak about boundaries, I want to reiterate, we understand that those numbers represent real people and real families and real homes. And so part of what we do and part of what we've already started in our boundary committee is we understand neighborhoods are important. And so here is a quick look at what we put together for subdivisions. And you can see Fox Run and Spring Creek Pines there on the far west side for Ford. But you can see all the different subdivisions that make up the Grand Oaks area. And we will continue to take that into consideration as we try to make it work, along with traffic, and as far as the implications of where we put a campus and what it does for traffic, because it is a high-density, high-traffic area. So we want to make things better and work effort to make that happen. So I talked about Section N57. If you look here on this picture, if you see in the middle where it says Woodson's Reserve and number 65, 65 represents Hines Elementary. That particular zone encompassed by number 65, that is N57, just specifically just to that section alone. We're told by the developer to expect 2,000 homes coming soon, which translates to 1,120 additional students. And if you do the math, 170 of those would go to Clark Intermediate if we make no changes to the boundary within Clark. Here's a good look at the elementary zone, the current feeder system, and how it looks for as far as attendance zones. One thing that stands out is the wide swath that makes up Snyder, and a lot of that is unpopulated at this time. The lower left, you'll see in purplish color, you'll see Broadway, you'll see Burnham Woods in brown, Bradley in pink, and then you'll see Ford there on the western edge, Fox Run and Spring Creek Pines in green. So that's what we're looking at right now for the elementary feeders. As far as the intermediate feeders, you'll see Clark represented in pink and Cox represented in yellow. And I salute the past boundary committee because it's really a nice, clean boundary system defined by subdivisions for the intermediate level. So they did a great job, but that's what we look like right now as far as intermediate zones in the Grand Oaks feeder. So we, just like Dr. Hines mentioned, we do realize how it's important too. I will not reiterate everything he said, but we do realize schools or communities are a big deal. All of us live in a community, and many of us have kids that went to schools, or we went to school ourselves. So I do want you to know that we do have 4 to 6 meetings planned to meet with the community, and some are live and some are virtual. Our first 2 are October 5th and 6th, so we're looking forward to those. We do have a boundary process webpage where you can go right now, and I believe we have 9 or 10 scenarios and iterations of scenarios listed on the website for possible rezoning for the Grand Oaks Elementary and Intermediate zones. So that's there now. You can also offer feedback. It's a really nice website. I encourage you to look at it. As Dr. Hines reiterated, we don't take the task lightly, and we plan to come before you in January with 2 recommendations potentially regarding the elementary and intermediate feeders within the Grand Oaks area. So we're excited about it. We have a great group, and I appreciate you listening to what we had to say tonight. Thank you.
Very good.
Mr. McCord?
Yes, sir.
Are there, similar to what Dr. Hines was saying about scenarios, are there any scenarios up on the website yet about
Yes.
potential boundary zones?
They're there right now, even
Okay.
as we speak.
And how
You can
many
also-
are out there?
Yeah, I think there are 9 or 10. I'd have to look.
Okay,
I
all right,
can't remember.
okay.
We
So
have
there's
different
several.
iterations.
That's what I thought. There were more for this one than there was for the Grangerland area.
We've been working, in full disclosure, we've been working on this for many months.
Right.
And I must also salute Regina Woody. She's helped us a lot, Jessica L'Oreal, Cindy Smith, and of course, Dr. Hines. But a lot of hours have gone into this, and so we really want to do a good job.
And the
So-
same information is available. They can download, and it will give them students per area. And
Correct. And they
Okay.
can even submit their own potential
Correct.
zone, their own potential maps if they want to.
Right.
And just offer, if they just want to offer comment, they can, and feedback, they can do that also.
Right.
Yes, sir. In fact, it's right there, approximately located dead center of the Conroe ISD website.
Great place. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any scenario suggested would take effect next school year?
Yes, when we open
Yes.
Dr. Hines Elementary School, yes. August 23.
When we open what school again?
Dr. Christopher J. Hines
Okay,
Elementary.
very well, thank you.
They didn't cheer like this. They don't know they're supposed to cheer. Every time we can't say that without clapping. That's
Yeah, I like
it's like a rule for us.
We'll be coming back with an update, and I look forward to seeing you in January with a recommendation.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Ms. McCord. All right, item 6, Teaching and Learning A, receive information regarding the 2022 STAR 3 through 8 and STAR end of course results.
All right, we're going to hear from our Assistant Superintendents for Schools, Dr. Winkler, Dr. Medford, and Dr. Povich.
Good evening. Good evening, President Hubert, members of the board, and Dr. Knoll. Thank you for the opportunity and time for us to share the information regarding STAR and STAR end of course for 2022. As with any school year, there are celebrations and there are areas that we've identified as a focus for this upcoming school year. To do all of this, all of our campuses, all 65 of them, have participated in summer trainings with Lead Forward, which is a professional development consulting firm. I should use these. That helps educators dive into the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, otherwise known as TEKS, and how they will be assessed. This summer, Lead Forward specifically helped the district and campuses look at purposeful collaboration to increase academic growth by looking at how we can maximize our time planning instruction that is relevant, engaging, and rigorous. Campuses also spent time looking at the redesign of STAR that's coming up this next year to investigate the thinking skills students will need to be successful. Most recently, campuses attended what we call data dives to ensure that campuses understand the components of the assessment system, its different domains, where we excelled, and where work still needs to be done. This includes not only gaps in student learning, but where we can hone our professional development to ensure first-time quality instruction, and that is occurring in each of our classrooms. At next month's board meeting, you will see our district and campus improvement plans. You will find that these plans reflect the strengths and the needs of campuses that are in part based on the results we are sharing with you tonight. One of our celebrations for this evening is that none of our campuses were identified as comprehensive campuses or what used to be referred to as improvement required or IR campuses. In the past, we have brought to you plans for individual schools that have been identified as comprehensive, but this year, you're going to be missing out because we have none of those to report to you this year, which is exciting news for us.
Specifically, over the course of the past 3 years, we have presented to you Houston's comprehensive plan. This year, Houston exited its status as being identified as comprehensive, and as an extra bonus, they earned a distinction in academic achievement for reading. Very proud of them. Creighton Elementary earned a distinction as well in post-secondary readiness. Austin Elementary celebrated a B rating with an overall scale score of an 88 with 4 distinctions, and Glenlock Elementary celebrated their first A rating along with 4 distinctions at their campuses.
Awesome.
These,
Yes.
We're so proud of them. These are just a few celebrations in the elementary world, and they in no way mean that we are not vigilant in identifying areas where we can improve for our students. But we do know that as we celebrate those successes, we know that acknowledging them means that we have the ability to replicate that great instruction that takes place in those classrooms. Before we begin reviewing the scores, I would like to say thank you to all of our teachers, our paraprofessionals, administrators, campus and district support staff, and auxiliary staff that champion for our students' learning each and every day. Their dedication makes a difference.
Yes.
So we're going to start with our elementary scores. In third grade reading, as you can see, we went up 4 points from last year, and we are 8 points above the state. And in third grade math, we went up 2 points from last year, and we're 11 percentage points above the state. In fourth grade, we're only reporting reading this year because, as you recall, reading and writing have been combined into one test this year. So in fourth grade, we went up 7 percentage points, and we're 7 percentage points above the state. And in fourth grade math, we went up 3 points from last year, and we are 13 percentage points above the state. So if you don't have any questions about our elementary scores, I will pass it over to my colleague, Dr. Medford.
That's fantastic.
Thank you, Dr. Winkler. Thank you for the time this evening. Get to speak to you twice. It's a treat for me to share the achievement for our middle schools. We are proud of the work of our campuses, and we continue to ensure that all students are learning and growing. All campuses are working really hard to solidify that important foundation before we pass them off to our high school friends. We have some celebrations. 10 of our campuses in the middle schools division received a post-secondary readiness distinction, including Travis Intermediate, who also received a distinction in science, which has been a big area of focus. Additionally, Additionally, Vogel Intermediate received 4 distinctions for the first time since becoming a title campus. So,
Congratulations.
all right, so lots of things to celebrate, lots of things for us to work on, which is why we're here today. We'll continue that work. You can see in 5th grade reading, we continued the great work of the elementaries to see that growth, up 3 points from last year. We did stay the same in 5th grade math this year, although we're still outperforming the state by 7%. We don't necessarily love staying the same. We like to grow and get better, but we've already spent some time. Tammy Zunker, our coordinator for K-6 math, was actually at our principal meeting last week, as well as Cheryl Heim, our coordinator for science, to talk with our principals and the work that they're doing with teachers to identify exactly what those were. And they're kind of narrowed down to some pretty specific skills that we realize our kids need us to work on and to fill some of those gaps. Multi-step equations, specifically with fractions, and really looking at positive rational numbers in math. So with your support, we were able to add an ESSER-funded math interventionist at all of our intermediate and junior highs, and so we have some really specific work that they're doing with our kids and has already begun. So science, you see that we did slip 1 point, still outperforming the state by 12%, but as I mentioned, Cheryl Heim came to our previous meeting and already kind of have that plan working with our teachers to what we've seen as we need a lot more hands-on and vocabulary work, specifically with our earth and space units. The properties of soil and the vocabulary tied to that, and then formations of sedimentary rocks and all the landforms and things we know that our kids need to see and touch and work with all of those things. So proud of the work they've done to make sure we're ahead of that as we go into the year. Looking at 6th grade, we saw another gain in reading, up 2 points from last year. We saw that 1% drop in 6th grade math, same plan that we talked about using that interventionist to help us.
and then looking at our professional learning to make sure that we can ensure that our students this year, those skills are representing tables and graphs, equivalent expressions, and then data distribution with mean, median, and mode, and interquartile range, or some things that are very specific that we can work to get better on. Our 7th grade reading, just like 4th grade, you'll see it combined for the first time. So reading and writing is the same test now. We saw an increase of 5%, so we were really proud of that. 7th grade math, as you know, is the first year where our students who are in advanced math take a different grade level. So this is just our students in 7th grade level math. Our pre-algebra students are included in the 8th grade math score. So we saw another gain there as well. Still have room to grow, sitting at 64%, but again, using all of those things that we've learned in that interventionist to help us there. 8th graders did a great job this past year, grew 3 points in reading, went up 2 percentage points in math. You see we're 15 percentage points ahead of the state, which is really great. In science, we saw a 2% gain, and then another 1% gain in social studies. So very excited and very proud of the work we have to know where we need to grow for next year. So if there aren't any questions, I'll pass it over to Dr. Povich.
Just a remark, or maybe you have some more context there. Seen some really big gains at the state level that aren't really reflected at the district level. Any more context to that?
Well, part of it, we did see big gains last year, which we were proud of when the state didn't see quite as many gains. So we feel like there's some evening out. We did test a lot more students. If you remember kind of when we spoke last year, we had a high participation rate compared when we were comparing to everyone else. We still outperformed them pretty strongly, but we're always looking to get better. Really working at closing the gaps. That's why that post-secondary readiness, that was a big celebration, because we're really looking at making sure they're prepared. But always, looking at those specific things. So we're not looking at, that number means a lot, right? So really looking at those teaks kind of that I mentioned that we know that we struggled with, and making sure our teachers have all the tools they need so their kids can do better.
I think something else to point out, and correct me if I'm wrong in this comment, but I do know that having kids in class makes a huge, huge difference. And Conroe ISD was probably the largest district in Texas that did not close. And all those other districts closed. And so they can have this huge gain where ours could be incremental, but we kept going. We never quit teaching.
I can provide you, if you want me to do the previous year, and you can kind of see the difference between 20 and 21.
Yes.
Yeah, I can send that to you.
Yeah, I think that's worth mentioning.
I have a somewhat rhetorical question to ask all three of you to be in consideration for the future before you step up, Dr. Povich. When you look at this data disaggregated, what is our plan for targeting these specific sub-pops that are skewing these numbers one particular way? I mean, I kind of just want this more, again, I'm not looking for a deep dive tonight, more on the public record type thing, but are there conversations going on behind the scenes when you look at this data disaggregated to work with Dr. Henry and Dr. Wiggins on specific sub-pops that are, their scores are much lower and things like that?
Absolutely. So when Dr. Winkler mentioned our data dives, we actually split them up kind of with similar like schools, right? So like our title intermediates met with Jeff Fuller and the assessment team, our non-title, so they could dig into really looking at the data with schools like theirs. And so that information, we go all the way down to every sub-pop you can imagine. We look at how the ECODIS students performed, we look at all the ethnic groups, and then we track that by student. So every school has what we call a longitudinal dashboard. And so every assessment they give, it will tell them how did their emerging bilinguals do, how did their special ed students do, how did all the different ethnic, how did they perform, so that we can make sure that no student is left behind. And then within that, that'll give you the overview for the campus. And then with each individual teacher and each individual kid, you can see how they're progressing and performing. So we drill it all the way down to current, continuously enrolled. All of the different categories are on that, and Lauren Helfer is the mastermind behind that. But it's so great, it helps our campuses. So that's what that data dive was, looking at the previous year, but then how do we track them this year? That goes all the way down to student level.
I think everybody knows I won't be sitting on this side of the dais asking that question next year, but I may be standing at that podium come budget time next year asking that question, how many dyslexia specialists are being brought in to address this score? How many math interventionists are being brought in to address this sub-pop's score. So
It's one of my favorite things about the working with you guys is we knew we needed help in math, and y'all helped make that decision early. So our principals hired those before we even had scores because we knew that's where we needed support. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, I think you'll see that conversation formalized and memorialized next month when you see the district improvement plan and the campus improvement plan. So that they will address exactly what you're talking about, to show you exactly what we're doing, who's accountable for it, and how we'll measure it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Is there, maybe I saved this for next time, but is there any correlation to what we just saw with capacity issues in some of our campuses and lower performing maybe STAR results?
I don't know that we would see that necessarily. I would tell you, even at our places that are over capacity, it's the teachers that make the difference. So, you know, if you're in a portable classroom, it's still a very worthy classroom. It's a good classroom. I think what we see more, or our bigger concerns when we talk about capacity issues, are on the safety front, and then also just being good neighbors. You know, when we have a school that's at 130% capacity, what we do to traffic and what we do to a neighborhood, and the busing and getting kids in and out, we see that more, I think, than we see as far as impacted educationally. Now, where we can run into challenges on the education side, and I'll defer to elementary folks that can speak to this better than me, is when we get an elementary school that's well over capacity, especially if it's one of our schools that, say, don't have a gym, an elementary school. They have to build the master schedule around that situation. And so rather than making decisions that are best for kids or best for the teachers as far as planning periods go, they're actually having to build a schedule around the fact that the gym has to be a cafeteria for 2 hours, 3 hours in the middle of the day, and how will we get everybody to the required PE throughout the day. So I think that's where we see more educational impact. But as far as pure academics, they're in the classroom with a great teacher, they're going to get the right level of education.
Mr. Moore, I'm going to have more to answer for your particular question after I go through the data for the high schools. While our overall scores are above the state average in our language arts, we've seen a decrease in our English 1 and our English 2 EOC scores. English 1 is down from 79 to 72%. English 2 is down from 81 to 78%. Our goal for this academic school year is to get our percentages back up to at least pre-pandemic results, with English 1 in the 80th percentile, and we want English 2 in the 85th percentile range. Again, I'm going to share our district plan on moving forward after I present the next results. Algebra 1 is always a concern for high school level. Historically speaking, Algebra 1 students at the high school level are your struggling learners, and they also require more intervention. We dropped from 84 to 78%. We're still above the state average, but we have work in this area. Our biology scores, you can see, have gone down by 1%. I'm sure our biology teachers, I'm actually confident our biology teachers will get us back in the 90th this school year. And then if you look at our U.S. history, we moved up 1%. And that's a huge congratulation goes out to all of our social studies teachers in making improvements despite the challenges over the last couple of years. In summary, our main focus this school year for our high schools will be on improving our ELA score, specifically English 1, and also our Algebra 1 EOC score. The district, again, has been mentioned, has already allocated a math interventionist for each of our high school campuses. Their specific focus is addressing the needs at the Algebra 1 level. That individual is housed on each of the campuses. This past summer, our campuses received training from Lead Forward on how to measure our course TEKS within the classroom and how to provide more formative assessments for checking academic growth throughout the school year. 2 to 3 weeks ago, Data Dive academic accountability meetings were held with each campus, high school campus, to understand the current accountability system, possible changes that are being proposed for the high school accountability system, and to identify areas of strengths and growth for each campus. Starting this week, we have a district team of teaching and learning and academic accountability staff. They are visiting with each high school to talk about their specific students. This is moving us from what I call from the test data analysis to student analysis. This is the means where we can talk about the individual needs of our kids within the classroom. Campuses are receiving assistance on how to track within each class the academic growth of individual students and how to chart it throughout each local classroom assessment as well as district assessments. We'll be working with our campuses at all levels, K through 12, throughout the school year to address the learning loss and how to improve academic growth. With that being said, it's not just our mission to get back to pre-pandemic scores, but more importantly, to go above such and assure we're providing the very best education for our students. Data for this report was compiled from the TEA summary reports that are provided to the district and the public. Grade level results where students are tested in English and Spanish were combined using weighted averages to produce the overall results. And individuals may access the TEA summary reports online through links provided here, or simply enter TEA summary reports in an online search engine and it'll take you to the TEA website and get you that information. President Hubert, members of the board, Dr. Knoll, thank you for your time this evening. We're eager to work on our academic growth with our students and the results it will produce for the benefit of our kids and our community. Thank you.
Any questions for Dr. Povich? Thoughts?
In the district received overall a B.
Yes, our district overall rating was a B, and that's what we have been rated multiple times. And there's a bit of explanation, and I will defer to Dr. Taylor if I make a mistake. She could correct me, or Dr. Hines. But part of the way that the system works is if you have any single school that makes a D or below on any of the domains, then it automatically caps the district score at an 89. So that has been the case for us now for multiple years, that actually our tabulations would show that we have earned into the 90s, which would be an A, but because we've had at least one school receive a D or below in one domain, it caps us. Now, Dr. Winkler mentioned one of our celebrations this year is all of our schools earned at least a C or better in their overall score, but in a particular domain, we did have a few that earned below a C, and that's what capped our district score. So still an 89. B is our district accountability score.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that was really disappointing to see, especially knowing all the great strides that have been happening at St. Houston and some of our other campuses. It was a hard thing to swallow. I know, I'm sure for all the teachers too out there in the district. So.
It is frustrating. I think part of that, though, is it's important to us, and we would like to earn an A in everything that we do. But we also understand that, you know, while I respect the state's attempt to simplify the accountability system so that everyone can understand it, what they have done is oversimplified a very complex thing. And schools are much greater than the results of one test from one day. The impact that they make in the lives of children and the way that they change their communities are significantly greater than that one test that day. And so I think they've oversimplified the system. And so we will still try to compete in the system because, like I said, we want to win in every category, but we don't lose sight of that there's much more at stake in the lives of our children and the health of our schools and the great work that our teachers do than what that one singular grade says. Yes, Mr.
And there's approximately, say, 4 or 5 domains. My point being, if we've got 70 schools, that's 350 domains.
Yeah.
If we get a D in one of them.
Correct.
We're not to diminish any other school district, but if they have 5 schools in their district, they
That
have
is true.
25 domains.
Yeah, it is a pure, if you get one, you're out.
Right,
So,
that's what I
yeah,
said.
it's not a percentage, like
Right.
to help a large district. So it's not a system that is overly friendly to large districts, and truthfully, it's not a system that's overly friendly to districts that may have schools that have very high economically disadvantaged student populations in one particular campus or in multiple particular campuses.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that
Yes,
it's not apples and apples at all.
correct.
So out of 400 domains, we get 1D one time, and it's a B.
That's right.
But well done, well done.
Yeah. Very good. And we were not downgraded.
Correct. It's been a B. It's the same. We earned the same. It's an 89. You look back every year, it's been an 89 because that's what the state has set us at.
I thought so. I just had heard that we had been downgraded. I want to make sure that it was, obviously were not downgraded.
Correct.
Okay. Very good. Any other questions, Mr. Bolton? Dr. Coolidge? Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you. Good discussion. All right, moving on to item 7, planning and construction. A, receive capital improvements update.
All right, Mr. Foster.
Mr. Foster, I don't see 2 pages of approvals for projects. So you just not doing anything right now?
Took a little time off. But good evening, President Hubert, members of the board, and Dr. Knoll. It's my pleasure to bring forward for your information tonight an update on our capital improvements underway throughout the district. I'll start you with our safety and security program. This is a district-wide effort that where the campuses that did not have other major work going on got some work on their campuses to enhance their access controls and security cameras and front entries and other safety aspects. The project is going well. We anticipate wrapping that project by the end of this year, being December of 2022. And we look forward to bringing for you the next installment, which will complete our package of safety and security projects for the capital improvement plan that was part of the 2019 bond referendum. First part of next year, and then we would look to finish that on schedule as well. Now, our new Moorhead Junior High School, which you heard about in attendance and other declarations about it today, this is the current state of affairs on that campus. So you can see lots of things happening. So the practice fields are taking shape. The detention ponds are becoming a stabilized vegetated surface. The building itself is very near dry. Matter of fact, the kind of the right half of that building on your picture is under air conditioning currently as they're working their way to the academic side on the left half of the building. So overall, that project is on schedule, and we're scheduled to turn it over for our students to use in August of 2023. At Conroe High School, this is our major overhaul of that campus and how it operates. You can see from our overhead picture here that it is developing as well. In the lower part of the picture is our new CTE section of the building. So you can see the sidewalks and concrete drives for the automotive technology and welding labs are taking shape on the outside now. That building is wrapping what is currently the fine arts building, so the band hall, which is still an active band hall as we work through this process. The connection to the main structure is near its dry state. That section of the building is scheduled to turn over in the middle of next semester. And then we'll start moving other programs around and helping that campus progress improve or continue to move forward. And the upper part of your screen is the new athletics venue, so that's the locker rooms, the gyms, things of that nature. And that is actually scheduled to turn over mid-semester next semester as well. And that is the 2 puzzle pieces we need to actually do the shell game with students in that campus that allow us to do some pretty invasive work and remove some of those oldest functioning parts of that campus next summer. Overall, the project is on schedule, but we will be there through the end of 2025. Oak Ridge High School, this is overall the Oak Ridge High School campus as well as our South County CTE programs building. As you can see here, this is the progress of the new front admin section, which is a 2-story admin suite for that campus, and it is in a new location. So as we open this up, it is intended to be opened up during the winter break. So when students return and faculty return from the winter break, they'll have their new offices ready for use in that new location. And the CTE building is taking its shape as well. So we've got the building structure up, working on the roof deck. This is concrete block walls, building all those large labs for all those programs that are going to be now available to a greater portion of our student population throughout the southern part of the district. So the project is overall on schedule, and we'll be using that building for all of its intended purposes at the end of August 2023, or actually for the new school year that starts in August of 2023. Dr. Hines, Christopher J. Hines Elementary School, that building is also on schedule. The building structure, as you've already seen this picture, Mr. McCord stole my thunder today. But the building structure is near complete. Now we're working on the roof, the concrete roof decks and things that are around the building. The infrastructure around us, the neighborhood around us is being developed very well, so the utilities and that are becoming active. We'll start seeing rooftops in there very shortly, as all the streets and roads are very near their completion. The building itself is on schedule, and is scheduled to turn over for students when they come to school in August of 2023. Now, our new maintenance and child nutrition facility, this building is also going to be available for our use as a district in the summer of 2023. You can see there the building structure for the main portion of that building. The front end is the 2-story office section. that'll hold our maintenance department and the child nutrition folks that work very hard to keep our campuses running and the children fed. The back parts are those warehouses and workshops and all the other things that child nutrition and maintenance need to do their daily work. There's another building to be constructed. You can see the steel stacked up on the slab at the rear of this site, and all that nice, pretty parking lot that is developing towards the 2854 as they move that project forward. Overall, it is also on schedule, and we'll take over use of it in the summer of 2023. Now, Caney Creek High School, this is our upgrades to that campus to help Caney Creek better serve a 6A population of students. We've been working through the athletics venues. The bleachers on the football or athletic field are being expanded for those populations of the fans that come see those games. You see here a picture of the structure for the new front entry. They are working diligently on that to get it turned over for our use as soon as possible, and it should turn over in the middle of this semester we're currently in. But they're getting the structure in, putting the roof on, and making it dry, and putting the glass walls and all the building offices in it as we speak. Overall, the project at Caney Creek High School is on schedule, and we will complete that project in total in the summer, so it'll be ready for school and students return in August of 23. At Collins Intermediate, this is our gym addition, as well as other life cycle improvements at Collins Intermediate. You can see here we're doing this one in the right order. The steel for the building is on site and being erected, so this process is moving along well. At the current pace, we will turn over the gym for use to play basketball and other round ball sports and inside PE activities in January when the students return from their winter break. However, our contractor will still remain on that site to do his other work, and we will finish that job completely in time for students when they return from the summer break in August of 2023. And that is our update.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Foster.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 8A, which is receive financial reports. I believe that's Ms. Garza.
Good evening, President Hubert, members of the board, and Dr. Null. It is my pleasure this evening to present the financial statements as of August 31st. August 31st is our fiscal year end, so these statements are preliminary. Over the next couple of months, we will be closing out the fiscal year with all of our year-end closing entries. So these are the statements as of right now. This is our balance sheet. Presented here is the general fund, debt service, child nutrition, and self-funded insurance. In the general fund, we have total assets of $221.5 million. Debt service, $22.8 million. Child nutrition, $12.8 million. And self-funded insurance, $8.1 million. This is our cash and investments. As of 8/31, in the general fund, we have bank deposits of just over $3.1 million. Investments in the pools of $108.9 million. Investments at Wood Forest of $23.5 million. U.S. Bank, $14.9 million. And TCG, $53.6 million, for total cash and investments in the general fund of $204.2 million. This is our income statement as of 8/31. Again, preliminary. Total revenue in the general fund, $546.6 million. Total expenditures of $508 million. In debt service, our second debt payment was made in August, so you'll see that reflected in the expenditure total. Child nutrition, total revenue for the year of $33.6 million. Total expenditures of $24.8. And then self-funded insurance, total revenue of just over $54 million. Total expenditures of $56.4 million. This is our 2019 bond referendum update. Total funds expended and encumbered life to date of the bond is $445.4 million. Estimated to complete just over $203 million. Our self-funded insurance update. Total revenue for the year is $53.6 million. Total expenditures of $55.7. So we are running a deficit of just over $2 million for the year. We were anticipating running a deficit of around $2.5 million, so we still have a couple of closing entries to do for self-funded insurance, so we should be right on target with where we had anticipated we would be as a result of elective procedures and surgeries that were delayed due to the pandemic. So we are right on track self-funded insurance-wise for the year. Our investments as of 8/31, our par value is just over $622 million. The pools are yielding 2.24%, Wood Forest 2.45%. Our shorter-term investments are at 82 basis points. Our longer-term, our 36-month ladder with TCG is just at 97 basis points, and then our combined portfolio is just at 2.05. We are still playing a little bit of catch-up with our benchmark, the 90-day T-bill, and we do anticipate, as we shared with the investment committee last week, for that to continue throughout the remainder of this calendar year, as the Federal Reserve is anticipating 2 more rate hikes. So we could see that catch up even run into the early part of next year as well. So our benchmark, the 90-day T-bill, is at 2.8%.
We're getting closer.
We're getting closer. The
Yeah.
gap's closing.
Every month it seems to get closer.
I believe we discussed that in the Finance Committee.
We did in the investment committee.
The
yes.
Investment Committee, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. Appreciate it. Item 9A, legal. Nominate a candidate to fill a vacancy on the Montgomery Central Appraisal District Board of Directors. I believe this is
Ms. Gladys.
Gladys.
Thank you. This is a first in all the years that we've been doing CAD appraisal district. They had a director that was elected resign, and so the process for filling that vacancy is each of the taxing jurisdictions has an opportunity to nominate a candidate via resolution, and then the board of directors will select one of the nominations from the taxing jurisdictions. When I spoke with the appraisal district 2 days ago, they hadn't received any nominations from any of the taxing jurisdictions yet. I understand the county will be nominating someone, and I did ask what happens if no one nominates anyone, and she said they would just ask again for the taxing jurisdictions to nominate. So you're under no obligation to make a nomination, but you are welcome to nominate one candidate if you would like to.
Okay.
Nominate Mark Frank.
Mark Frank.
Yes, sir.
So is that a motion, or are you just
No,
putting
it's
that
just-
out for, okay?
I think you just put it
Okay.
out there.
A nomination is a motion.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me, is that correct? A nomination is a motion?
I move that we nominate
Okay.
Mark Frank.
Okay. We have a motion, do we have a second? We have no second? All right, the motion fails. Is there any other nominations at this time? Okay, so I guess we don't have a nomination for you today.
I will let them know.
All right. Moving on to item B, accept resignation. Let's just skip it.
Yeah.
Accept resignation of trustee Scott Moore and consider filing a vacancy. I'll turn this over to
Mr. Moore.
consider, yeah, Mr. Moore.
So I had submitted a letter of resignation to President Hubert and Secretary Sanders. For 13 years, I have volunteered and served in this school district, the last 6 of which as a trustee. I had every intention when I was reelected in 2020 of serving out till 2024, but sometimes life changes come along, and I have to follow God's will and God's leading in my life, and that is leading me to different things. I do want to say on the record, I am not resigning because I have moved outside the district. That is a falsehood that is being circulated. I still reside full-time within the geographic bounds of Conroe ISD. I do, however, work outside the geographic bounds of Conroe ISD and in other areas of public service, serving a church and serving as a deputy sheriff in Trinity County. Spend a lot of times on the road and a lot of late nights and a lot of schedules that are beyond my control. I have always tried my very best to make this position about more than one Tuesday night a month, and to be on campuses, to be at sporting events, at fine arts events, at PTO bazaars, at anything I could possibly be at. And unfortunately, the time commitment on other things are making it where I cannot devote the time that this position deserves. And I could not, in good faith, continue to hold a position that I can not devote the time that it deserves, that the citizens of this district deserve, that the students of this district deserves. And I'm going to start looking down because there's a few of you out there. If I make eye contact, I'm going to start crying. This has been an absolutely wonderful experience. I have met some amazing people. And just because I am not going to be carrying the title of trustee after November does not mean that I will stop advocating for public education and the children of this state. You will still see me in Austin testifying before legislative committees. You will still see me testifying before State Board of Education, trying to do right by not just our 71,000 kids, but 5.5 million kids that attend schools in the state of Texas. So I want to say some thank yous to all of you, just generally, everybody that has supported and worked with me, and the members of this board. You have all helped guide me and shown me what servant leadership looks like, and I thank all of you for that. To the administration of this district, thank you for answering my questions on a personal level. I want to apologize for all the times that I wore you out. I know I have been a thorn in some of your sides, but please know it was just trying to do right and get the information and push issues that I thought were best for the students of this district. So for those times that you looked at your phone and saw the caller ID and rolled your eyes and said, oh my God, what does he want now? And I do thank you for all of those meetings and helping me along in those areas. This is an absolutely amazing district with amazing leadership from superintendent down to every part-time employee and everybody in between. I meant what I said during the HR presentation earlier. This is an absolutely amazing district with amazing people, and I will still be around to support each and every one of you and do everything I can for the employees and the kids and the taxpayers of this district. So thank you all for letting me serve you, and I will see you all around.
And we do get one more meeting with you, that's correct?
That's
So
correct. I will be here.
We will be able to duly celebrate you at next month's meeting. I know that we look forward to that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, I formally resign my position.
Effective when?
Effective November 14th.
So we do a motion to accept the.
Yeah, we can take a motion to accept his resignation, that'd be fine, yes?
So is that your
Okay.
motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of Scott Moore, sadly.
Sadly.
No second?
Second.
Dies for lack of a second.
Yeah.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any conversation, discussion, or comments anybody'd like to make?
I'd just like to say, it's been a pleasure to serve with you. It's been a pleasure to serve with you, Mr. Moore. You're genuine. You understand what it takes to be a servant leader. And it's just been a pleasure to serve with you, understanding that there's no hidden agendas, there's no political aspirations that you're aspiring for. You genuinely want to do what's best for the district, the administrations, the kids, and just CISD and the community in which you serve. So I applaud you for that. It's refreshing to see that, and you will be missed, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just second that. It's been a pleasure to get to know you, Scott, and you're a man of great character, and I just wish you all the best for your future adventures.
I have kudos to, I agree with everything Dathan said, but I'm gonna wait till next month because I need to write it out because I'll probably cry, so I need to stop right now.
Yeah, understood. Anyone else?
I'll wait.
Okay, very good. Well, I'd like to say something as well, Scott. I've known you for a long time now, and I think the first time I met you was when you were the chaplain for the Conroe High School football team. And I was just impressed with that. You didn't just show up to run for school boards. You were part of this, graduating from McCullough, supporting our kids in the band and the orchestra and the choir, and really taught me by watching you, as you just said, that this position is more than just Tuesday night, 12 times a year. You're in there. You get in there. You take on issues. You push. You're kind. You have a good heart, and you've done well for the students. And I appreciate you as well for what you've done, who you are as a person, and how you represented this district. It's been an honor sitting next to you and working alongside you and having our conversations afterwards and before. And we didn't vote stride on everything that came up, but we were always genuine about who it was, what we were doing, and I appreciate that. I really do. So thank you. You will be missed. We wish you well. I know it takes a lot for someone. I know how much you love this position. I know how much you love giving, and it's not a matter of you're moving out, because you're not moving out. It's a matter of you can't give it your all, and that integrity that you have about what you believe this position is supposed to be, and that you don't feel like you can give that kind of time now. It just speaks volumes of you. So I appreciate that. I thank you very much for all of those lessons. Good luck. Good luck out there. All right. Call the motion, and all those in favor show by the uplifted hand. Any opposed by the same sign, and any abstentions? You don't get to vote.
No, oh, okay, all right.
All right. Motion
Thought I'd try.
carries. For this part of the next part of the consideration of filling vacancy, I would like to turn this time over to someone else, because I'd like to recuse myself. But before I do, I would like to state that if you're not aware, then I'll let everybody know that my name's not on the ballot this year, and it was not supposed to be that way. But it is what it is. There's nothing I can do to change it. I had an oversight on my application, and I left off one of my favorite things about myself was bragging about how long I've lived in Texas. And even though that's never been in question, my residency, the state of Texas said, you have to, even if you just put a squiggly line, or even if you lie, doesn't matter, you left it blank. And so, I was deemed an invalid applicant. So whatever course the district, the board decides, I feel like I would love to be a part of it. And because of that, I feel like I need to recuse myself from this next conversation. So I'll turn the time over to my vice president if he wants to turn the time over as well. That's certainly up to you.
Legally, I cannot participate in any discussion or vote regarding my replacement. So I am going to relinquish temporary chairship of this item to second vice president, Mrs. Wagaman.
Very good, thank you.
Well, we can share options. Ms. Gladys, if you want to share with the board's options here.
So your board policy, BBC sets out the requirements of the law when a board member resigns prior to the end of his term. When there's more than a year left on the term, the board must fill that vacancy, and they have 180 days to do so, and they have two mechanisms to do that. They can hold a special election, and in this case, the special election would be beyond the 180-day period. It would be May, because that we can have school districts and have elections on only the uniform election dates, May and November. Your other option would be to appoint a person to fill the position on the board.
Thank you.
And so are there any, just for clarity's, I know I was asked this question by one board member, so I wanted to share it with everyone to know the cost of a special election. The last election that we called, I believe, was a bond election.
Yes.
It's been a few years ago now. The cost of that, Ms. Gladys, was?
It was almost $160,000. It was almost 4 years ago.
Yeah, so I think we would anticipate that the cost of a special election would be somewhere between $180,000 and $200,000. I think would be the cost to the taxpayers.
In May.
And it would be in May, yes, that's when we could do that.
Which leaves us with an empty board seat for some pretty important board decisions that need to happen between now and May. Yeah, okay.
I'd like
It's
to-
more just stating.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to the board receives applications as authorized Dr. Knoll to fill out and create an application form that has the statutory requirements on it, as well as pertinent information, as well as letting the general public know the application process, and to have that vote on December 13th, 2022.
Thank you, Mr. Inman. Do we have a second?
With hearing no second, the motion fails.
Madam Second Vice President, I move that the Board of Trustees appoint Mr. Skeeter Hubert, our current President of the Board, to fill the unexpired term for position 7, effective November 18, 2022. Understanding that the public has elected Mr. Hubert twice, and this board unanimously elected him to serve as our president. I think no other worthy. He's one of the most worthy candidates that can fill the remaining of the term until the election is held.
Okay, that was a really long motion, and Ray.
I will not repeat it.
Ray, you made a second.
A second.
Thank you. Mr. Sanders. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Yes. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Miss Chase.
No, go ahead.
The ladies first.
Just go ahead.
Yeah. That's right.
I just want to make sure we do have a discussion on this. I think this is not a decision made every day, thankfully.
Yep.
But definitely a very important one, and so I think it would be good to have an open discussion on this.
We got a first and a second.
Yes, we're in discussion.
Yes,
We're good.
we're in
Yeah, we're good.
discussion.
Yes, we're good.
Go ahead. You're
Okay.
my apologies.
Yeah. So I'm just going to share a little bit of my thought process here as I was preparing for this board meeting and this agenda item and thinking through, how do we make this kind of tough decision. So I think we already covered the possibility of a special election is costly. And if we think about it, a starting teacher's pay, right here, $60,000, it's a couple of teachers, and honestly, we have to think about what is most beneficial for our community, just how we spend that money. And then the other thing that I think is important to think about is, we have some really important decisions to make up until May, so for me, that didn't seemed like the best option. As far as taking applications, again, the idea would be, I think the benefit would be to get more candidates potentially, right? And to open it up. Still, there's a time delay kind of question, and it still comes down to a decision by the board, which we assigned anyway, so it feels like we just take a little bit extra time to make a decision that we would all make anyway, and not seems low risk, right? That we get another kind of qualified candidate that could compete with Mr. Hubert's credentials. So the last one I come to you is assigning, right, and considering Datron's motion. So for me, this feels like the most timely, the most cost-effective, the least disruptive to the decision. And so then the question becomes, who is the most qualified for us to assign here? And I reviewed some of Skeeter's, or Mr. Hubert's past elections, which I think have been brought up, right? And so the first election in 2014, he won with 45% of the vote, with 3 candidates running. And then in 2018, won with 65% of the vote. So for me, this is a pretty good indicator that this community trusts Mr. Hubert to make the right decisions and trust him to represent them on the board. Also considered just the community reaction. I know I personally have received a lot of communication supporting Mr. Hubert on the board, which also indicates to me that the community is speaking very loudly, that they would want to see someone with 8 years experience continue on the board through a very important coming 2 years. So I just laying out kind of my thought process and how I got there. Maybe it's helpful to you, maybe it's helpful to the community to be able to see that, what goes in the decision, but then I will relinquish to Mr. Sanders.
Very good, Mr. Sanders.
I don't think I could say it any better than Ms. Chase said. Everything that she talked about, I had on my, had written in my notes here. To leave the position unfilled for 7 months just doesn't seem like the best way to do it, considering all of the growth that we have that is going on and the challenges that we face in our district. I believe we need to make some hard decisions, and to have one member short in those 7 months that we would wait before the election seems like a long time. And then that new person, if it weren't, Mr. Hubert, then would have to kind of get up to speed with what's going on. It just seems that doesn't seem like a logical choice to me. The other one is just the cost. As you stated, we could hire 3 teachers for the cost of what it would probably cost or more. And that doesn't make much sense to me as well. The gentleman that had the question that he wanted to ask, I'm just going to say it. I've had no discussions with any other board members until right now about this topic at all. I feel like Mr. Hubert is qualified. I feel like he's experienced. I feel like he's knowledgeable about our district and what's going on in our district. And again, I received many community recommendations. All of them, every one of them that I got recommended Skeeter Hubert to take that spot. And so for those reasons, I'm in support of this motion.
I'd like to add that I think, and Mr. President Hubert, I'm a big fan of yours. I voted for you to be president. But in 34 days, early voting starts, and there's going to be at least 3, potentially 4 board members here after one more meeting that's different. Could we at least extend this vote until the new board members are seated? Because we're making a commitment for them for the next 2 years, and in 34 days, early voting starts. I just really feel like the board, and I want to stress, Mr. Hubert, I consider you a good friend, and I would actually be fine. As a lot of what Ms. Chase said, I thought excellent points. I think the voting public has kind of proven that. But I just think if the board's going to make the decision, it should not be the outgoing board, but the incoming board. I'll be making a decision that won't affect me in 61 days or thereabouts.
I'm not going anywhere.
Well, you're not, but there's 3 of us are, and potentially 4. Skeeter won't be there, I won't be there, Mr. Moore won't be there, potentially.
He's not voting.
No, I know, but I'm just saying that after this next election, 3 of us won't be here, minimum. Potentially 4. So instead of the ones that are voting tonight, maybe let that next board make that decision in what is it, 38 days or something, or 41 days? I'm just saying we're kind of like telling the next board, here's what you're going to do for the next 2 years, and some of us won't be there.
That's our job.
I know, I don't have a problem with that, but doing a Supreme Court justice the last day of a president's thing isn't right either. It's kind of like you should let the new incoming board do that from a pragmatic approach. And I've had multiple people ask me, you guys shouldn't do this. Nothing politically at all, just the new board should make that decision. Now, I know there's resistance, and as the question was brought tonight by the gentleman, I think Mr. McCann, who I don't really know personally, I didn't know he was going to ask that question. Has there been discussions? That's one of my questions too. Because it seems like it's common knowledge that the board's going to make this decision. How'd that information get out? Has there been discussions? Has anyone already had this discussion that where the fix is in? Because I'm hearing from the public, it seems like the fix is in and Skeeter's going to be the guy.
I think it's all public knowledge, right, that what our agenda is. It's very clearly stated on our agenda that we will consider a new board member. I think people who are engaged with the district know their circumstances behind Mr. Hubert's election issue, and then also see very clearly consider assigning someone for Scott's seat. So I think people can put 2 and 2 together. But I know personally, I have not had any conversations with other board members about this vote and assigning another.
Has anyone else had any conversations?
I have not had any conversations with any members of this board in regards to an appointment position.
Mr. Williams?
I know you're not waiting for me to justify you with an answer.
No, I'm just asking. Because there seems to be a perception, and the public should have a right to know, is this set up?
I think we answered that.
Well, you did,
Mr.
and Ms. Wagman did.
Mr. Inman, question for you.
Sure.
Because I also considered the application thing. But really kind of what I arrived at was that, where does that get us except a couple, 40 days down the road and basically a whole upheaval potentially of the board. So how does that really benefit?
Well, how it does, I think if we make a decision, the incoming board in 50 days will live with our decision for the next 2 years. And with at least 3 and potentially 4, it could be an entirely new board. I just think we should give them the courtesy of making that decision. And nothing politically, and if I was on the board, I'd probably vote for Mr. Hubert.
But Scott.
I really
You
would.
are
I think
on
I
the
would.
board, Mr.
You are on the board.
You get a vote.
But I'm leaving. Okay,
You are on the board.
here's my
You said,
question.
If I were on the board.
Here's my question.
You are on the board.
Are we gonna let the new board make the decision, or are we making the decision for the new board? That's my question.
We are the
We're about to
board.
see.
But honestly.
And
a
has
new
there been
board-
discussions?
No, a new board.
Has anyone, can everyone on this board say they've not had any outside discussions?
I've already made that
People gonna
public.
ask folks to justify their position on the board.
Say it again, I didn't hear
You
you.
of all folks on the board gonna ask folks to justify a decision that needs to be made relative to.
I'm asking,
Ms.
has there been
Second Vice
outside
President, I call for the
questions?
motion to be
Man.
made.
Yeah, I
Thank
think
you.
that's better.
We have a call for the question. So this ends discussion. At this time, Mr. Williams has made a motion
I'm
calling.
sorry, was there a second for the call to question?
Yeah, we had discussion.
Was there a second?
Had to be a second to you have discussion.
I heard Mr.,
Mr. Sanders, second.
I thought he made the motion to call.
I
question.
called-
He's called
I
for the
called
question.
Okay, and then was there a second for the call?
I second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
We need to let Ms. Wagman run.
I know, I agree.
Thank you. All in favor? Thank you.
Opposed?
Opposed? Thank you.
So you got a vote.
I did.
Thank you. At this time, we will go ahead and make the motion, repeat the motion. Mr. Williams made a motion calling for the immediate appointment to the Board of Trustees to appoint Skeeter Hubert to fill the unexpired term for position 7, effective November 18th, 2022. Seconded by Mr. Sanders. By a show of hands, please indicate your approval. By a show of hands, any opposed? By a show of hands, any abstained? The motion passes. Thank you. I turn it back over to President Huber.
All right, well,
Welcome back.
thank you very much. I accept that. I appreciate it. It means a lot to me. I appreciate that. And I guess for the record, I could certainly say I have not spoken to anybody about any kind of appointment for me at all. It seems kind of silly to say that, but
Yeah, I legally couldn't participate in the discussion which was going on at the time, but I'll be glad to say for public record, I had no conversations with any board members
I'm
about it.
still not gonna justify it.
yeah, I don't know. All right, moving on to item 10, to the executive session. We have executive session today. The board will go into closed session pursuant to Section 551.071, 551.072, and 551.074 of the Texas Open Meeting Act. Any action, vote, or decision of the board with regard to any matters discussed in closed session will be made when a board returns to open session. The time is 8:24. We're back in session. The time is 9:59. Item 12A, consider purchase of an approximately 20-acre school site in the Woodlands High School feeder zone and authorize the superintendent to negotiate and execute documents necessary to effectuate the transaction. Is that right?
Yes.
I would move what you just said.
We have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any more discussion? All right, seeing none, I call the vote. All those in favor show by the uplifted hand. Any opposed by the same sign? Motion carries. All right, 12B, consider purchase of 3 tracts of approximately 37.2 acres, 17.7 acres, and 19 acres for school sites in the Grand Oaks High School feeder zone and authorize the superintendent to negotiate and execute documents necessary to effectuate the transaction. Do we have a motion?
I would move what you just said.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All right, seeing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor show by the uplifted hand. Any opposed by the same sign? Motion carries unanimous. Very good. We have a motion to adjourn, and we are out. Thank you. Time is 10 o'clock.